Thank you for having me. Would you all bow with me in prayer? Dear Heavenly Father, it is such an honor to come to you tonight in your name. Dear Lord, I just ask that you bless all of the people who are in this room with decision-making priorities on their desk, Lord. I ask that you just guide their decisions so that the best for our school system, our children, and our adults are taken into consideration. Lord, I ask those same blessings on our leaders, both nationally and state level. God, please bless our children, Lord, not only in their academics, but also things that lead to their character. God, bless them with character traits that will lead to honesty, integrity, and compassion and kindness. Lord, just surround every adult in our school system with energy, creativity, and compassion as they deal with our children. Lord, I thank you so much for the safety that you have provided in our school system, and I ask a special blessing of peace and wisdom for those in New Mexico tonight as they are dealing with a tragedy in their own system, Lord. I thank you most of all for the privilege of education and for the gifts that you have given not only the people in this room, but all of those gifted educators in all of our schools. Lord, just continue to bless us and keep us safe. In your name, I pray. Amen. And if you join me in the pledge to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
All right, I don't believe we have special recognition. So do we have any public participation? All right, moving on. Approval of tonight's agenda. Do we have a motion to approve
So
tonight's
moved.
agenda?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Moving on, approval of our minutes.
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, superintendent reports. Ms. Peggy Bullard.
Our SPLOST distribution for November is $846,571, and that's an increase from last month of $10,000, and we're still averaging better than SPLOST 3 at $871 plus versus $830,490 plus. And our the new automobile tax, we have 2 months. I was only through October last month, and I received the November and December. And that's $73,370 and $102,361. So we're still averaging above $100,000 for the first 10 months of that tax. Property tax revenues, when I did the report, I did not have all of the December information from the tax office. I did get it today. And so the actual collections for December are $30,716,128, and that's 87%. So that's slightly better than last year. And our expenditures are still within budget at 48.26%, with 50% of the year done.
Okay, any questions? All right, thank you. Dr. Lockhart, our operations report.
Yes, with the operations report, several things I'd like to bring to your attention. Maintenance and operations. Maintenance received 612 work requests in December of 2013, with 463 having been completed. There are 149 remaining work orders in progress. Student transportation. The average per gallon cost for diesel fuel purchased during December was $3.33. Fuel was last purchased in November for $3.30. 1 year from that time ago, the average cost of fuel was $3.59. Ombudsman report. A total enrollment as of January 9th is 72 high school students, 22 middle school students. There are no bus incidents to report. One item of note under school nutrition we'd like to share is the item, actually is the fourth item here. Locally grown cucumbers were offered to students on the school lunch menu during the month of December. Again, we do everything we can to support locally created and grown products here, so we just want to point that out. That concludes the operations report, unless there are any questions.
I got one question.
Yes, ma'am.
On the ombudsman report,
Yes.
the student enrollment, that's low from what we normally have, and I know we pay for a certain amount of allotted slots. If we continue to have like low enrollment, I've been noticing that, is there a way that we can decrease the slots that we're paying for, or no?
Very good question. Actually, we're getting ready to talk with them about potential negotiations for next year. And so what we'll do is take a collective average of how we're performing, and then we'll make adjustments if needed at
Okay.
that time.
Okay,
And you will be hearing more information about that in the upcoming board meeting.
okay, thank you.
Dr. Walker, when they reported that to me, they said they had a number of students that were still registering.
Okay.
That was just ones that were actually enrolled.
Roll, okay.
Thank you.
It will grow in enrollment over the course of the second semester as students come through the process, the hearing process, so.
All right, moving on. Item B, curriculum instruction and technology.
All right, curriculum instruction technology, a few items I want to bring to your attention. Item number 2, just want to let you know, and 2 and 3 actually go together. All students in grades K-6 were administered the STAR assessment, and this is a universal screening tool. We use that to determine where students' readiness levels are. Item 3, again, goes hand in hand with that. Benchmarks were administered in grades 6 through 12. I see a lot of high school students here. I'm pretty sure they can attest to the fact that they have seen some benchmark assessments, and that's how you measure and improve student growth, by making sure you test them frequently, find out where they are, and address those weaknesses if there are any. If we can turn to page 2, just so that you will be aware, item 15, all middle schools conducted a school science and social studies fair. The winners from each school will compete at the county level in order to represent Newton County in the regional fair. Very proud of these students, and we wish them the very best. On page 3, item 17, Literacy Day competitions were held for elementary and middle school students in the areas of poetry recitation, drama, and ready writing. The winners from our district competition will compete at the Griffin Risa Regional Literacy Days in February. Again, very proud of the work of our students. And that concludes the CIT report.
All right, any questions? All right, moving on. I think we have a presentation. Are we ready for that, or do you want to do enrollment? Okay,
Let's do enrollment, okay.
All right.
Enrollment report. As of January 9th, our enrollment to date is 19,387 students. This time last year, we were at 19,127, so that provides a surplus of 260 students here compared to last year.
All right, thank you.
At this time, we'd like to have a presentation on epidemiology. This is the first high school course offering of its kind in the nation. We're very, very proud of this work, and what we wanted to do was have an opportunity for you to actually see the type of work that's taking place over the course of a year, a little bit longer than a year at this point. So again, we wanted to give you that opportunity, and with that being said, I'll now turn the floor over to Mr. Evan Williams. All right, thank you.
I want to thank everyone for allowing me to come out today to talk to you about epidemiology. And I'm going to show you a PowerPoint. I'm also going to talk about a couple of things in which let you know what our students at Newton High School are doing in relation to as it relates to the course of epidemiology. I also hope to express to you within this presentation how the methods of teaching epidemiology, which is based on cause and effect, has an impact on student achievement, not just within a class of epidemiology students, but long-term for those students to help them increase lifelong goals. As you see, we are having some technical issues. Hopefully we can get this resolved in just a second. We do have a backup. Yeah. Okay. We got it? Okay. Let's go. Okay, first I want to look at our mission statement here at Newton County School System. The mission of the Newton County School System is to provide educational excellence for all students. Educational excellence, the belief statement is that educational excellence is the primary goal of the Newton County schools so that graduates can think critically, solve problems, make good decisions, and succeed in the workforce. Schools should provide a leadership role in the development of a balanced educational experience, socialization, opportunity for personal, physical, and mental fitness, and basic living skills. There is a ton of other things that we have there, as I know you are quite familiar with our belief and mission statements here in Newton County School System, but I wanted to point that out before we started with the presentation. Here's just a background. I know a lot of people heard about what I've done and what we're doing here at Newton High School in regards to epidemiology. My background included some things in the past which allowed me to get the great opportunity of working with the CDC. Of course, that's when I was much younger, about 17 years younger, and there a lot of things are different now. But this is back in Monticello, Georgia. From my experience of working with the CDC, EXCITE, which is an acronym for Excellence in Curriculum Integration, through teaching epidemiology, which is currently a federal teaching model. It's located on the CDC's website. From that, we have science ambassadors and a list of other things that are available for teachers as resources. Tech Prep Conference, the University of Georgia, Emory University, Princeton University is where I've taught this course and areas of talking about epidemiology from across the nation, the state of Georgia as well. There's an author, Richard Preston, from the book that wrote the book The Hot Zone, which currently has a student handbook from some brainstorming ideas that we've met and collaborated together on. Here are the 5 principal frameworks of epidemiology. Epidemiology is a course that talks about disease detection. It also talks about epidemics within our society, anything that can and will affect the human population. The 5 frameworks centered around some essential areas. Number 1, history. For anything that we look at as a disease, we have to understand the history of it. Descriptive. That describes person, place, and time, the location, what's prevalent, and also the demographics. Analytical epidemiology is extremely important because before something can become an epidemic, it must first be located and identified as an epidemic. The only way that a particular case can be identified as an epidemic is if those numbers are abnormally high. And when we talk about statistical analysis of different areas and biostatistics, and this is what epidemiology brings out, it brings that math out within an area of real-world application. We look at ethics. This is another framework of epidemiology, which talks about the laws, the politics, society, and religion. The last framework of epi is public health surveillance. Public health surveillance teaches students how to disseminate information, how to deliver it in a cordial manner that's abiding by the laws, that's set aside by the ethics of epidemiology. Once again, we have history, describes pathogens. We have descriptive epidemiology, teaches students importance of person, place, and time. Analytical epi, along with ethics. And of course, last but not least, we have public health surveillance. All of this wraps up, and one of the things that the State Department has right now are these 5 frameworks are pretty much setting the goals and setting the standards and the framework for the teaching of epidemiology to be broken down within the classroom. Now, one of the things that I would like to do, and of course we started teaching epi at Newton High School back in the fall of 2011, I would like to show you with the demonstration from some of my students here today how epidemiology impacts their learning, how they understand the different aspects of epi. And those 5 frameworks that I've just presented to you, when you listen carefully to the students, we have a small window of time. They're all going to speak individually. Guys, could you all stand up? Those of you, they're going to be talking about the different frameworks. Could you all just stand here in front of the board? Yeah, we can face the board. Each one of them will demonstrate and talk about a framework of epi. We're going to be looking at the disease of HIV, which has one of the most prevalent known outbreaks within our time frame in America. So we'll start on the end with Hunter, and we'll start with you, and then we'll work our way down.
I'm actually going to be talking about syrup
Okay.
today. One of the things I find interesting about epidemiology is that it uses each part of the academics to explain the outbreaks to students, such as an analytical epidemiology uses mathematical statistics in order to understand how cigarettes affect the population. Did you know that 440,000 people each year die from cigarette smoke? 61% of those are men, 39% are female, and out of the 444,000, 11% of them are killed by secondhand smoke. Thank you for your time.
We're going to speak on foodborne illnesses. Foodborne illnesses are caused by the consumption of contaminated food. In epidemiology, we've learned about salmonella, which is a common foodborne illness, and it happens 1.2 million times a year. Many cases go unnoticed because people do not know about the disease. And in epidemiology, we also learned about how to stay safe from not only just diseases, but addictions as well, and it has certainly changed my outlook on life.
I'm going to speak about my experience in epidemiology. Epidemiology is my favorite class. I have a lot of hands-on experience. One of my favorite experiences is helping Mr. Williams, alongside a couple of my peers, teach how to do brain stains in the bio lab. And yeah, I want to be, I want to go into the health field as soon as I graduate high school.
I'll be talking about the analytical and public health surveillance days. Since June of 1981, more than 1.8 million people have been infected with HIV, including 650,000 that have already died. And today, more than 1.1 people are living with HIV. Many challenges, or there are many successes that have been found, but challenges remain.
I'm talking about the history of HIV. HIV stands for human immunodeficiency virus. Many scientists believe that HIV evolved from a closely related virus known as Simon immunodeficiency, or SIV. The first HIV outbreak occurred in the late 1900s amongst homosexual men in New York and California, but soon became worldwide.
My name is Kurt Said. Epidemiology is not only the study of diseases, but also the study of epidemics. In this class, we learn all the aspects of epidemiology using 5 frameworks, which are history, descriptive, analytical, ethics, and public health surveillance. To illustrate, you cannot discriminate anyone who has HIV or disclose anyone's HIV status. Approximately 3 million new cases of crabs are reported yearly. These are some of the superb studies we learn in this class, and taking this class has been a phenomenal experience for myself, and I thank you for the opportunity.
I believe that implementing epidemiology in New England County high schools is beneficial to all students because it helps us gain knowledge on all diseases and it helps us maintain a healthy lifestyle. So, thank you, Mr. Williams.
Thank you. Guys, thank you very much.
Mr. Williams, can I take a picture of your students so I can tweet it before they have a
Yes,
seat?
yes,
I'm
yes. They
sorry.
want to take a picture of you all. I was trying to go with the time, so we go ahead. Go ahead.
Everybody
Go ahead and
get in.
stand up. Although you're going to speak later, go ahead and get in.
You guys ready? All of y'all have a photo release form, right?
Yeah, they
One,
had to sign all that.
2, 3. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Sit on.
It didn't have to flash.
So once again, as you see with epidemiology, not only does this class have the opportunity, when you start teaching about teaching cause and effect, has the opportunity to impact science. It has the opportunity to impact math, history. We have to talk about the history of any disease before you discuss it. English, when students are disseminating the information, and when they're in my classroom, they have to create a pamphlet. And that pamphlet is to serve as a token of educating the public and talking about what is important and how can you prevent yourself from catching a particular type of disease. Foreign languages. As we know, we are bilingual within our school system, and therefore some of our projects and pamphlets have been set up in a way in which we have Spanish, and English, and also French. So, and also health and physical education. This is a way in which this course can impact every aspect of education. Because right now, everybody's in their separate entity. Epidemiology brings it all together. Move right along a little bit faster. Flu Exit was a project that the CDC first came to Newton High School back in 2010, in which I worked with Dr. Stephen Thacker, who was U.S. Assistant Admiral and U.S. Assistant Surgeon General. He is the person that started the entire aspect of teaching epidemiology in all schools. Here are some former projects with some former students. The first one I just pulled up here is on teen pregnancy. These students did psittacosis, which is a disease caused by a bird, and these students here did homicides, and looking at the ratio of people dying and the demographics of individuals dying in America. Here we're talking about a STEM initiative, and we're looking at the 21st Century After School program, in which I had the opportunity to do some projects in the summertime. This is all epi. When we look at cause and effect, 3 million people die, 3 million children die each year from drinking unsafe pure water worldwide. And you see the method in which they're drinking the water, and you see the students down on the right creating a filtration device. Some of the relevant topics that we discuss in epidemiology: waterborne illnesses, teen pregnancy, sexually transmitted diseases, homicide amongst teenagers, car accidents, diabetes, cancer, addiction. All of these are major topics that are extremely important to students, and regardless of what topics they may like or may not like, when they look at cause and effect, the cause of the disease and the effects, long-term effect of the disease, they have an opportunity to have a better understanding of how everything coincides. Let's look at some data. Looking at Georgia High School graduation test, science remediation in 2011 at Newton High School, people asked the question, did these students take epidemiology? No. It was before epidemiology, but at the same time, these students had the opportunity to learn cause and effect. Cause and effect is a way of teaching. It's not just the subject of epidemiology. Cause and effect is a way of showing students the long-term outcome of a direct decision that's made. So in 2011, pilot remediation class of 19 students. We took 18 students past that course, and this is their third or fourth time taking the course in January. I think Ms. Stevens was my assistant principal at the time. First time piloting this, 18 students took the course, 19 students took the course, 18 students passed the course, 94.7% passing percentage. Out of the 398 students that graduated that year, it was a 5% increase in graduation rate due to the fact that these students took that pilot course. Also, with the 21st Century After School program, it incorporates STEM. A lot of people ask the question statewide, what is one of the things that keep your students in the 21st Century After School program at a high school? It's very rare that you can get students to stay at a high school after school to do academics. Here, it became a family unit. And some of the projects that we would do, we started working on STEM projects, cultivating, doing the composting, creating biofuels and those different things. So when you look at that, 10 to 15 students a year for the last 2 years, and this is our third year with the 21st Century program, has actually fallen into the graduation rate area as opposed to not graduating. So that, along with the credit recovery area, has really made a great impact in our school. EOCT results, physical science. Once again, teaching cause and effect. 2010, our numbers look at 2009, we had 72% passing rate in Newton High School. And since then, 2010, 2011, 2012, look at the enormous gains. Once again, what does this have to do with EPI? Is it cause and effect that may cause these students to make them think about their resources and what they need to do? Or at the same time, I think that once we teach students how to learn the principles of these areas, it does have an impact on the long-term effects, and it makes them want to learn. I started teaching in Newton County 2009-10, and at the same time, those numbers have shown some increases with the numbers and students that I've worked with, along with some of the interest that students have taken. Here I'm going to show the State Department, and as Dr. Lockhart mentioned earlier, epidemiology. This Newton High School is the first school in the nation to offer EPI. And since its inception, several students have gone on and wanted to take epidemiology as not only as a thought of living a healthier lifestyle, but a career path. Recently, Ms. Amber Broughton, one of our top 10 students who graduated last year, is attending University of Georgia. Currently, right now, her major is epidemiology. She was recently accepted into a graduate level course in which most PhD students were accepted into this internship. They told her that they wanted to make a pilot out of her. So currently, right now, she's into this internship that's in conjunction with Yale University, and she is the only freshman in an epidemiology program at UGA that's been accepted into this program, and everyone else in this program are PhD students currently right now. She wanted to be here tonight. She wanted me to tell you all this, and she tried desperately to get here, but she could not get away from class. And I told her, stay in class. Currently, right now, we do have a student that's in Newton High School. I will have her come up, and she'll just tell you her experience. And she went with us with Ms. Samantha Fury, Dr. Lockhart, some of the administrative staff at Newton County to present at Emory University. And she'll come now and express to you what her future plans are.
My future plans are attending Emory University in the fall to major in pre-nursing and hopefully continue on to medical school later on. But having epidemiology as a class has given me a very realistic approach to what it would be like in healthcare and just science overall. And it's been very useful to me. When we got the chance to go to Emory and talk about HIV and everything else we've learned, it gave me more of a reason to want to go there. So I'm really excited to go in the fall.
Thank you. I would also like our counselor, Dr. Brakefield, who's been in Newton County school systems for, Dr. Brakefield? 10 years. And she can express to you some of the things she told me a year or two ago. She said, I don't know some of the things, Mr. Williams, but she wanted to express to you some of the interest that the students that she's seen graduate from Newton High School. Dr. Brakefield.
Good evening. Good evening. I just want to touch on two major things that I have seen since epidemiology has come to our school. Of course, physical science and biology are required classes for our students by the state. And then Newton County requires chemistry or environmental science as their third science. So students can choose, they have a lot of a different variety of courses they can choose as their fourth science. So when I heard that we were doing epidemiology, I was very excited because that was just another science class we could offer our students. And since we have our Alliance program, our magnet school, a lot of students that are wanting to take the science route, they like taking science classes as extra electives. So you might have a student that graduates with 5 or 6 science classes. So I was excited about the epidemiology course. So when our course was introduced, in the spring, we typically have our students sign up for the classes. So I don't know if Mr. Williams was out there passing out cookies and chocolates, but we had an enormous amount of kids that wanted to take this class. So our first year, we offered a couple of courses. And so last spring, we had so many students that wanted to take the class, we actually ended up having to take some out because they hadn't had their chemistry or environmental science requirement yet. So we were like, I'm sorry we can't give this to you, but you have to take the courses that are required. But we looked through their requests, and we just had an increase of students that were interested in that class. And I think it's because they hear the other students who have taken it. They are also promoting it, as well as the science teachers at our school. And Mr. Williams, I guess, teaches the class and makes it very exciting and hands-on, which makes them also excited to take the class. Another thing I wanted to mention as senior counselor this year, we sit down with every single senior and we ask them, what are your interests? What do you want to do, as far as when you go to college? What do you want to major in? What are your career interests? And over the past couple of years, I've noticed that their interests have kind of become more specific. Take, for instance, a student who usually would say, I want to go into the medical field, or I may want to do, nursing. Now it's more, I want to do epidemiology. I want to do public health. And so every time I have a student that tells me that, I chuckle and I say, so you must have took Mr. Williams' class. Because beyond that, I had never had a student say, I want to go into public health. They probably really didn't even know what public health was, So I like the fact that course has opened their eyes to see something that they can really pursue at a collegiate level. So I'm really happy about that. So that being said, if our other 2 sister high schools are thinking about adopting epidemiology as a course, I give it 2 thumbs up. And, I hope that they are really serious about offering that. That's good?
Thank you.
All right.
I'm just going through these slides real quick because time is of the essence. But epidemiology offers some of the things that we talk about in our transitional phase of education. Relevance, rigor, STEM, math and science, cause and effect. These are some of the things that we want to share with our students. We have the opportunity now here in Newton County to offer something totally different. I follow this motto by Edgar Allan Poe. Do not follow where the path may lead. Go instead where there is no path and leave a trail. I want to thank Samantha Fury, Superintendent, for allowing me this opportunity to speak with you all in regards to giving you a brief introduction of what epidemiology is all about, and allow my students and Dr. Brakefield to share this information with you. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. Students, Ms. Brakefield, appreciate your taking your time out today to come present this to us.
Excuse me, I have a couple
Okay.
of comments to make. Mr. Williams, I want to applaud the presentation that you shared with us tonight. I think it's just very strong in detail and content. I have to say this. I remember when you were here and you came through some long, dark days as a long-term sub. Now, here you are presenting information on a leading edge some of our universities are capturing. And far as I'm concerned, I want to give you this name of the father of epidemiology in Newton County.
Thank you.
I think you deserve it.
Thank you.
And also, I'm impressed with the influence that your course has had on the base of student achievement and graduation. I wish we could translate that over into math.
Well,
leadership. I know, I got it. But we talked about this couple of 6 months ago, and you did a presentation here. And I've seen programs come through the board, STEM, gotten funded. I'm just disappointed that we have not taken this course to the next level. How do we get there? And what do we need to get there to take it to the next level from your perception? And give us a little overview, if you have any idea, of what it'll cost to take it to the next level. I'll be interested in your comments on those two statements. If I should refer this to the superintendent, I would.
Well, once again, number one, I'm honored, and I would number one say that I totally appreciate the opportunity, once again, to actually teach it in Newton High School. And I want to thank Samantha Fear because, number one, great leaders, some leaders won't have that mindset of steering in the direction of being creative and innovative. But I would love to have the opportunity to assist in training and getting teachers trained in Newton County to teach epi. Epidemiology is not just a science course. It's a course that opens up the mindset and brings relevance to math. That math that you were talking about when math has no meaning. Math does have a meaning when the numbers mean something. When it talks about relevance and real world applications, when I discuss things with African American men and let them know that the likelihood of them dying by gunshot is greater than anybody else in the room because of statistical analysis. Students have an opportunity or a tendency to listen a little bit more. And so therefore, I would love that opportunity. But once again, I thank you. And at the same time, I would love that opportunity if it ever came up. As far as cost, I'm not sure about that.
I'd like to respond by, number one, expressing my appreciation for the vision that the administration has shown as far as thinking forward and doing things that out of the box, so to speak.
Right.
And I think it's an excellent program, and I commend you for the work that you've done. Having said that, I think it speaks volume for the students that we have attending our school system here in Newton County. And I would put any of our students up with any other schools in the nation. And I think it speaks volume of you guys and girls who have taken an interest to make life better for yourselves as well as others. And it's just a small example of the other things that we're doing good in our school system. And I just think that you all should deserve a hand clap of praise.
Okay.
Thank
Thank
you,
you
Mr.
again.
Thank you.
We appreciate
Thank
you
you.
taking the time tonight. All right, we will move on to, well, first of all, I don't know if you want to stay. I don't know if y'all are planning on staying, Mr. Williams. This would be the opportunity if y'all would like to exit. So as they leave, we'll move on. We have no old business.
Oh, I'm tweeting it now.
All right, so we can move on to new business. Item A is requested board action relative to FY 2015 budget calendar. Ms. Bullard, you are back.
Every year, we approve a calendar. It lets administrators and the board know what their responsibilities are in regard to preparing the budget for the next year and when these responsibilities need to be performed. And we will need to update it some once you approve your final board meeting dates.
All right, do we have any questions with this one right now? All right, thank you. Moving forward to item B, My Payments Plus, and this is Ms. Bullard also.
Yes, this is a system we're already using for school food service. What we'd like to do is expand it to all the money that comes into schools for other things like field trips, parking, even hopefully at some point to football games where people can use their checks and debit and credit cards to make payments, and so that we don't have all this cash and checks having to be handled by school personnel. But it does cost a transaction fee of 4.29%, but what we would like to do is to help offset that fee. For example, if you charge $10 for a T-shirt, you would charge $10.50 for a T-shirt, and that would help absorb the fee.
And isn't there a fee for each transaction that they already charge, or is that the same fee?
That's the same
That's
fee,
what you're talking about
But we're
now.
saying the board will pay it rather than, because I've talked to Gwinnett and Cobb, and they do it this way, and they say that more people use it, because that's our main goal, is we want to stop having all this cash in the schools, where it can get lost, stolen, mishandled. And they say, at Gwinnett, they say the schools that really heavily use it, they're sort of slowly rolling it out to their schools, that they have more money in the bank because they're using it.
Just for the little bit that we have it used now for lunch items, I use it and don't mind paying the extra fee because it's so much simpler than sending money in with my son, who there's no telling where it may end up between the house and the school. So, yeah. So I really do. I really don't mind paying that slight fee on top of that for the convenience. So, any other questions? No. All right. Well, thank you, Mr. Barr. Next agenda item is surplus items.
Item C, the superintendent recommends the attached items be declared surplus and disposed of per board policy DO. The property presented for your consideration tonight is from Alcovey High, BOE Administrative Offices, East Newton Elementary, Eastside High, Indian Creek Middle, and the Maintenance Department. And that concludes item C.
Any questions? All right, thank you. Dr. Thomas, I believe you have item D.
Good evening. The superintendent recommends approval of the SRA reading materials from McGraw-Hill Educational Company in the amount of $59,913 from the Title I School Improvement Budget for one of our focus schools, which is Live Oak Elementary. The Science Research Associates reading material, Science Associates, Research Associates, SRA, reading materials are designed to help students decode and comprehend the meaning of words. This program has strategy-based instruction that addresses all 5 essential components of reading, to include phonemic awareness, phonics, and word analysis, fluency, vocabulary, and comprehension. The Georgia Department of Education, the School Improvement Department, has already approved this expenditure for the 2013 school year. But of course, since it's more than $25,000, we will have to bring it to the board. I also have Ms. Erica Anderson, the principal of Live Oak Elementary School, here in case you have any questions about the SRA reading material.
All right, thank you. Any questions?
Would this be, I know you got a license to do it, but would this be transferable? Say you go through a process of say 1 year, and you've accomplished what you wanted to do, if possible, can it go to school A or B?
Well, it should stay at the school that it's been designed to be at. And I don't think that Ms. Anderson would like for these materials to leave her school, especially since they're research and instructional-based materials, and she can continue to use the materials for years to come.
Well, I did that. I'm a physical conservative, so I just wanted to ask that question.
But in the event that there is no longer a use for the materials, it can be transferred to another Title I school, but it will have to be a Title I school.
Okay, thanks.
All right, thank you. All right, if there's no more questions, thank you. All right, the item E is me. 2014 legislative priorities. As you know, in the past, we always develop a list of our legislative priorities, and with the session beginning this week, Ms. Fury's provided each of us with copies or suggestions of different school systems and organizations and their legislative priorities. So if you will take the next few days to take a look at that information and develop your own. If there's anything that stand out, you're welcome to go ahead and email me if there's something that you want to put, and we just need to set a list and bring it together. But if you could get something to me before this weekend, if there's something that you really want in there, so we can have a plan of action for next Tuesday. All right, any questions?
I have one question,
Okay.
Madam Chairman. You want to take that responsibility? I know in the past I have done it.
I'll do it for you. That's why I say go ahead and
Okay.
email me.
Okay, before I just get an email, I want to make sure.
I've got a little bit more free time than I think you do this week, so.
Okay, perfect.
I'll type it up. But if y'all just let me know before this weekend, that would be great.
Okay, thanks.
All right, item F, Ms. Vineyard. This is board action relative to the 2014-15 board meeting dates.
Good evening. The superintendent recommends that the proposed calendar of meeting dates of the Newton County Board of Education for January 2014 through 15 be approved. The proposed schedule of board meetings is based on the schedule from previous years, traditionally the second and third Tuesday of each month, with combined meetings in July and December. Last year, we also held a combined meeting in June due to conflicting board member schedules, and we've carried that over to this year's recommendation as well because it seemed to be very popular. There are also some changes to the traditional meeting dates to accommodate certain events during the school year. We've always tried to avoid meeting during breaks, so you'll note that April meetings have been moved to accommodate spring break. In addition, the first drafts of the next year's calendar have fall break scheduled for October 20th through the 24th. So because the board would not be able to hold a meeting until the fourth Tuesday, Ms. Fury has recommended that we hold a combined meeting on the second Tuesday. And finally, since we have many new employees hired, excuse me, in the days before school starts, we recommend that the July meeting be moved back closer to the start of school. And those are the only changes.
Madam Chairman, the October fall break obviously is a calendar recommendation by the calendar committee of which we have not brought to you yet. And so rather than get involved with your calendar decisions, moving the October date to, not moving it, it's actually the second Tuesday, and having a combined session there. Should you choose to change or make another suggestion for that fall break, it would not interfere with your meeting dates. That's why we propose the combined meeting on the 14th, because we have this meeting before the proposal for the calendar for the school year.
And then even after you approve this schedule, if you have to change a meeting, you can always do so and just notify the legal organ.
Mm-hmm. All right.
So, does anybody have any changes they would like to make on here?
Yes, Madam Chairman.
I was going to say maybe the June meeting. Is
Yes.
that-
Okay.
The June meeting, I know in the past,
Last year was the first year that we did it after that
We did it that
conference.
last weekend because we have that conference on
Okay.
the, I believe it's the 13th and 14th, and so
Yeah.
the 17th, and I know Shaquille and I normally,
Vacation.
it's that
Okay.
week. It's pretty,
Okay.
so if we could do it maybe that next week, whatever
Mhm.
that.
Can
what is
we do it before?
Or we could do it before the first week in June.
Because last year we did it the next week, and having it that last Tuesday of the month, it just seemed really awkward because it seemed like an entire month went by, and then we were turning around and meeting
again.
Yeah.
You speaking in June?
June, so it would be maybe the
12th?
12th, yes, no, yes, is that the 12th? I'm sorry, I don't have my calendar with me.
No, that
That
wouldn't be.
Tuesday before
It's the 10th.
conference.
June 10th?
Yes.
Oh, is it
The
the
10th.
10th?
June 10th.
Where did I get the 12th from?
The 12th is Thursday, because I think the conference is
Oh,
on
okay.
Thursday, it's on Friday. So,
And that won't interfere with the pre-conference?
pre-conference
you
would
going
be
to
on
that?
Wednesday.
Wednesday.
So you
Okay.
could do the Tuesday night, because
Okay.
even the pre-conference on Wednesday, when I had to do my original training, my first year, I was able to make it.
Okay.
I just left that morning, it doesn't start till that afternoon.
Okay, so change June 17th to June 10th? And then any other?
Is that okay?
Do you want to see what
Uh,
instead of that one? And you did that one last year.
That'll be the
you should be
plans for
fine
it.
with me.
Do what? You don't plan this far ahead?
I'm fine.
Okay.
Could you send us out an email this week with the new calendar with the
Sure.
the June 10th, so we can all have a
I'll
chance
send
to look
out
at it again?
Tomorrow?
Yeah.
Okay. And Mr. Johnson, you look like you had a question? Okay, okay.
I just don't know why we change it for vacation. We don't take vacations.
Yeah, I may not be there, but I just,
You
I may not be
have
going away.
quorum, otherwise.
All right.
Well, it'll go quick.
Great. All right, moving on. Let's see, item G, board action to the election of the 2014 board chairperson and vice chairperson. This is me. Be thinking about it if you want this wonderful position as chair, or you have any ideas. We need to have a motion next week and make that decision on those two positions. So finally, item H. Dr. Lockhart.
The superintendent requests that the board approve the personnel recommendations made during executive session.
All right, do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right, other matters of interest?
Yes, Madam Chair, I have two things, or actually one thing that I would like to share with you. I have been trying to get to you your certificates of completion indicating you have completed your state requirement for whole board training. And so wanted to make sure that you have your certificates for the training that we attended earlier in the year as a board. And thank you for your service and your commitment to ensuring that you meet all of the requirements to be a member of the Board of Education. We count on you to do that.
All right,
Thank you.
thank you. Any other comments?
Yes, I have a request. There's been some information put out about the dropout rates.
Yes, sir.
And if you don't mind, Ms. Vera, would you kind of expound on some of the information, how some of the data may be not all correct?
Sure. So, as you are aware, the graduation rates were reported earlier in the school year, I think in December, when the graduation rate information came out and was publicized, and Newton High School had a graduation rate of 67%. And of course, that was very shocking to all of us. When we opened the document, I think we were probably just as disappointed as everybody else. I think probably worse, actually. But, you know, we are folks who take action after we receive bad information so that we can ensure things don't happen again. And what it involves is going back and looking at students who withdrew from the school system and went to other locations and verifying that they graduated from a high school somewhere in the nation. And it falls on the heels of the state changing the information related to graduation, what used to count as a transfer. If you don't have the records in your presence when a student enrolls in another school, then the transfer suddenly becomes a dropout. So while the graduation rate information is really important to us as a school system, it doesn't always reflect the number of students who graduated. And I have said, I sat on the stage last year for all graduations and watched all students walk across the stage, and I am quite certain, which is why I expected the number to be quite higher, that many more students graduated from Newton High School. And as such, we put a plan of action into place and met with the administration at Newton High School, and to their credit, they began working, and we began talking to the State Department to see if there was any way that we could open the portal and adjust any information that we could find, and they agreed to do that. We have an accountability specialist that we work with. They heard our pleas, especially since we had transferred from the old Newton High School to the new Newton High School. We had new administration. So while they were, not happy about helping us, they not that they don't want to, but the portal was closed, and so they did understand that we had some extenuating circumstances, and they opened the portal and gave us a short window of time to hunt. And so people hunted morning, noon, night, overnight, weekend, not the weekend, I think it was a Wednesday, Thursday, Friday window. But just around the clock, central office teams went to the school. I mean, we studied and worked hard to gather information, and it requires that you search Google, you go to Facebook, you call grandparents, you go out on the street, you knock on doors, you go to neighborhoods and look for friends of friends of friends who graduated. It's not just a simple paperwork matter. And so we did those things. And unfortunately, we were not able to get everything accomplished because sometimes you just can't find where they are. And so as a result, we were able to increase the graduation rate at Newton High School by 5 points in the number of records that we were able to verify, thereby increasing the graduation rate for the school system to, I believe, 73%, which we were already above the state average, even with that significant drop, but this just added more points to that number. So I think what I want to say about that holistically is that we have reviewed all the processes and procedures that would prevent this from happening again. Although if a student who is in the senior class right now withdrew in the 9th grade, and we can't find that student across the nation or across the world, that student, if we don't have a request for records from the receiving school, we will have no record verification. It used to be that we, because the rules were different at that time, graduation rate was calculated differently, and because they're calculating it in this cohort manner, we used to have, when a parent would come to withdraw a student, they would ask for the transcripts, and we put them in a sealed envelope, and the parent would take those records to a receiving school, and the student would just simply enroll. The T that counted as a transfer did not count as a dropout. The rules changed. That T, while we were still handing out transcripts to kids, changed to a dropout code. And so, we have to go back now. We've got to go back and make sure that the kids who are sitting in our buildings right now, who were in 9th grade, if they withdrew, where are they? So that requires a great deal of effort to go look for them. The good news is that when they changed the rules, we changed the processes. So as these classes graduate, that workload will decrease because we now say, if you would like to transfer to another school, we will not give you the transcript. You must, wherever you're going, must request those transcripts. Therefore, we constantly have the documentation on file. So we're really proud that we put action behind our words, and that we recognized that it was a decrease, and it was not fun for any of us. We take this very seriously. We all live in this community. We love the school system. We enjoy the work. We enjoy everything that we do here. So when a school doesn't do well, it's just like I didn't do well, or like Dr. Lockhart didn't do well. Our team didn't do well, and so we really spent the time to get it done. And although it only demonstrates a 5-point increase, it definitely demonstrates that when we say what we say, we're telling the exact absolute truth, and that we're willing to do the hard work behind it to make the corrections.
Thank you, Ms. Leary. The reason I asked her to kind of expound on this information is because for 2 reasons. Number one is that I commend the high schools for the hard work they have to do in trying to track these students throughout the nation, just not in Newton County, and just not in the state of Georgia, but throughout. And correct me if I'm wrong, Ms. Fuhrer, but also there's a number that counts against us that we have no control over at all, and that is kids who may find themselves wanting to get into the military a lot quicker or some other reasons. If they go get a GED, that counts against the Scott school system as a dropout.
That's correct.
So a lot of the numbers that you hear is not actually realistic numbers as far as the number of students that's actually graduating or getting a diploma that attends our school system. So I just kind of wanted that, the public needs to know that, because I think there's a lot of people who don't quite understand how these numbers are gathered. So thank you very much for that. And again, thank you for the job that you guys do.
Thank you. We really did work hard to ensure that we did everything we could in the short time that we were given to make a difference, and I'm glad that it did. And I expect that we'll continue to see those changes. The only thing I would say in closing is that the numbers are always open or fluctuating because the state hasn't officially published their final CCRPI document, and we're all waiting for that document. We don't expect it to come out until sometime in February. The document itself, the CCRPI document that was publicized last year, is absolutely nothing like in its calculations what we're going to be dealing with this year. The state has changed all of the calculations on the current document, which thereby makes it, you can't compare it to the last year document. So we're actually going back to a baseline a score again, and we hear that there may be some future changes for the 14 instrument measuring when our kids take the tests now. And I think the public also needs to know that the results, when we get them in February, they are reflecting assessments that were administered last April and May. So it's very trailing data. We're having to dig and figure out our data points as we have to in order to plan for the future, because this data now, it's not necessary now. We needed it in June so that we could use it to plan. So we will be, as soon as we get the information, we'll let everybody know about the CCRPI reports. But it's really important that the public understand that you cannot compare the two documents. They cannot be compared. The calculations are completely different.
All right, well, thank you. Appreciate it. All right, any other matters of interest? If not, may I have a motion to adjourn for this evening?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We're adjourned.
Appreciate it.
Thank you for that opportunity.
You did a great job.